Hello, this is Craig. It is day 9 of the 30-day video challenge. Just over a week ago, I began this video challenge looking to get better at speaking on camera. Today, I'd like to talk about a few things. First of all, I would like to talk about how to kind of maintain your energy as a creator, how to keep on producing new work regardless of what work you're involved in. For me, it is a challenge to keep producing creative work without certain things in place. And I certainly can't cover all of the things that I'm thinking of in one video. And so I'll try to touch back on this a few times in other videos. I wanted to highlight something that's important to me. I think I've probably hinted at it in other videos, but it's really important to me that I remain inspired. And that sounds kind of foo-foo or kind of weird or yeah, that's a nice idea, Craig, but that just sounds weird. We all want to be inspired. But what I mean by that is that I am finding and watching and listening to other creators that where their work inspires me. There are other artists whose music inspires me, and so I'm listening to that music. I'm listening to that music on a daily basis. There are people who make videos who inspire me on YouTube, and so I'm watching those people uh, and what they produce, whether that's on YouTube or wherever that's at. It's mainly for me, it's mainly on YouTube, but I'm checking out their content, maybe not on a daily basis, but on a regular basis, I'm looking at their content because when I am watching or listening to or paying attention to other creatives and what they're producing, it helps inspire me and it helps me get going and get the energy to produce other work that I create. It helps me write new articles. It helps me produce videos. And so that's just a really important kind of staple or pillar in my life that I've discovered that's really important is for me to find other creatives that inspire me and regularly check out their work. It's not so much as a comparison, it's just that's where I find a lot of inspiration and it gives me energy to go on and create my own work. Another thing I want to talk about is just how easy it is to be distracted as a creative. No matter what you're doing, whether you're writing, whether you're making music, whether you're making videos, whatever you're doing, there are so many things to distract you from doing that creative work. And I'm not necessarily talking about social media or anything like that. What I'm talking about is, the actual act of creating, you have a certain process for, right? But there are all kinds of other processes and things that you need to do in order to be a successful creative that it's so easy to get lost in those side activities. For instance, as a writer, you need to write either books or articles, whatever you write. You need to write those things, and that is kind of like your core focus. But in order to be a successful writer, you also need to be on social media. And some people would argue with me and say, no, you don't have to be on social media to be a successful writer. And I think there's a lot of caveats there to that statement. So there are a lot of people that have built up an audience maybe prior to the rise of social media. And so they have this audience they can depend on that whenever they put out creative work, people follow it. And so those people, I think, may give you a lot of pushback on that statement and say you don't have to have an active presence on social media to be successful as a writer. But what I'm talking about is if you're up and coming, if you're developing your audience, if you've yet to have a big hit where a lot of people have purchased it or downloaded whatever creative work you put out, if you've yet to make it big and have big progress in your career and you're just kind of getting started, you will need social media to do that. There are those people that will stay in seclusion and avoid social media and produce a book, and all of a sudden they're well known because they produce this one work that really gets a lot of attention. And so I think a lot of people use that as an example, but not a lot of people are lucky enough to have that one big hit early in their career that gets them a lot of attention. And so, the modern writer nowadays has to rely on current methods to gain an audience. And a part of that is social media. It's not the only part of it, but it is a big part. So, social media is just one such distraction for today's modern writer. It's a necessary evil to being a writer. And I'm not saying it's all evil. I'm just saying that it's one of the things that you have to do to kind of build up an audience, but it can largely be a distraction from actually the work that you're needing to do, which is if you're a writer, it's writing. So that's one example of just all the distractions that can keep you from your actual craft. Another part of being a writer is today you have to have a website, which is not a bad thing, but the actual process of building, designing, and executing on a plan to build a website can take a long time. And so you can easily get caught up if you're doing it yourself, which the average independent author is going to be building their site themselves because they don't have a huge budget. So if you're building it yourself, there's so many rabbit holes to fall in and get distracted by. If you're an author and you're wanting to promote your work, one thing that you might do is create videos like I'm doing now. And it's so easy to get distracted by creating videos. And so there's this ongoing challenge for writers specifically. It applies to other creatives too, but this is what I'm familiar with. But there's this ongoing challenge to not get distracted by all these activities that are possibly necessary to be successful, but they're not the core of your work. And so it's really difficult to really keep a laser focus on what is the core of your work. And for me, that is writing, and that's producing content like videos. I no longer think that I'm going to solely write like in seclusion and publish, and that's going to be the end of what I create. I think I'm going to be on multiple platforms like YouTube, like having, a community, like having, courses that go along with whatever things I write. And so I don't think it's a reality for me to kind of stay in seclusion and write a book and put it out there and not be on social media, not have a web presence, and not be writing other things. I just don't see that as realistic for me. What I'm focusing on here is just all the possible distractions that are surrounding being a successful writer if you're just getting started like I am. I think a lot of people, in order to address this, they do a lot of things like they may join a mastermind group, they may join some course or some community that helps keep them focused. I think there are a lot of approaches, but I'm just amazed at how much side tasks that are necessary there are that can completely distract you from like what you're passionate about, what you love to do, what your work is. So we're right about at 10 minutes. Thank you for watching this video. Until tomorrow, goodbye.